Hi there, and welcome to my very first long-form video. This is a beginner-friendly crochet tutorial that's easy to customize. I'm calling it the Stripy Cadence Cardigan. I'm really excited to share my design with you, and I truly appreciate your patience as I figure things out along the way. Just a couple of quick disclaimers before we dive in. First, this tutorial will be split into multiple parts since I'm uploading as I go. And second, I'll be doing voiceovers instead of live commentary because I'm filming everything on my phone and don't have a full setup just yet. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's get started. For materials, I'm using 3 colors of DK weight yarn. This is from a previous project that I scrapped. A pair of scissors, a crochet hook, I'm using 5mm, some stitch markers, and a darning needle to weave in the ends. Let me tell you a little bit about this design. It's going to be worked in 2 halves, and as you can see, I've already completed the left side. I've done stripes of varying thickness, but of course you can customize the colors as you'd like. This piece is worked from the bottom up, around the sleeve, and then back down to the bottom, as you'll see shortly. The pattern is a very easy 2-row repeat. To start off, I'm starting with a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 167 for my foundation. You could of course make this as big or as small as you'd like. Just make sure that your final chain count is a multiple of 3 plus 2. I'm going to speed through this part and meet you once I'm done with my chain. Alright, I've chained 167. Let me bring you in closer. I'll be working a single crochet in these back bumps. I'll skip the first one, go into the second one here, and do a single crochet. And again, I'll keep working single crochets in these back bumps to have a total of 166 single crochets at the end. I'm going to mark my very first single crochet with a stitch marker so it's easier for me to count later. Now you could skip these 2 steps and begin with a single crochet foundation chain. In that case, you'd start with a multiple of 3 plus 1 single crochets. Now I'm nearing the end of my row. The reason I'm working single crochets in the back bumps only is because it provides a neater edge for your work, and later we'll be working on both sides of the single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 4, which counts as a double crochet plus chain 1 for this project. I'm going to turn my work. I'll skip the first 3 single crochets and go into this 4th one here. I'm going to work a double crochet and chain 1, and another double crochet in the same space, which makes a V-stitch. I'm going to chain 1, skip 2 single crochets, and go into the 3rd one and double crochet. And again chain 1 and a double crochet in the same space, making another V-stitch. I'll continue doing V-stitches in every 3rd single crochet and a chain space in between. The reason I'm using V-stitches is because I want my final garment to be less dense. If you wanted denser fabric, you could substitute the V-stitches with a granny stitch. That is, 3 double crochets in the same space. I'm near the end of my row, and I put a stitch marker underneath my 29th V-stitch. This is to separate the sleeve from the rest of the body. With my starting chain, I have a total of 27 V-stitches for my sleeve all around, and a total of 28 V-stitches for the length here. I'm nearing the end of my row and I've continued working V-stitches in every third single crochet. If you wanted to adapt this pattern into a shawl or a blanket or a rectangular piece of fabric, you would stop with a double crochet in the very last space. But I'm going to chain one, and for my second double crochet, I'm going to line up my work by laying it flat, and I'm going to go through the very last single crochet and the space where I placed my stitch marker. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Then I'll double crochet as regular. Chain one, and I'll continue doing my V-stitches along the other side. I'll speed through this part and meet you near the end of this row. If your initial chain was too tight, this part might be a bit difficult. Now I'm nearing the end of this row, and if you've been paying attention, you probably noticed that both sides are symmetrical. Since we started off on the other side with a chain 4, it's equivalent to a chain 1 and a double crochet. So once I finish my last V-stitch here, I'll zoom you in a little bit closer. I'm going to chain 1 after my V-stitch and go into this very last single crochet and do a double crochet. That's the end of this row. Now I'm going to change colors here. That's why I didn't finish my very last stitch. I'm going to take my new color, do a slip knot just to secure it. I'll put that slip knot on my hook and pull through the very last 2 loops of that double crochet. Then I'll continue as normal. I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. I'm going to go into that chain 1 space before the double crochet and I'll do a V-stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and work another V-stitch in the chain 1 space between the previous row's V-stitches. Here I'm just securing the ends together. I'm going to knot them twice and then cut the previous yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail. And I'm not worrying about weaving in these ends because I'll do that later. For the rest of this row, I'm going to continue to work V-stitches in the chain 1 spaces, being careful not to go into the chain 1 space that's part of the V-stitch. I'll work along the side here and around the sleeve and down the other side and meet you once I'm near the end. While I'm not quite near the end of the row yet, I ran out of yarn, so I thought I'd show you how I deal with this. I'm going to take the end of the new yarn and tie a knot on my previous yarn end. I'll do the same thing on the other side, using my old yarn end to secure a knot on the newer yarn. It's hard to explain in words, but I'm hoping the video is easier to follow along. I'm going to pull this knot tight and cut off the excess yarn. The reason I like using this method is because I can cut the tails really close, and this join is super secure. Now I'm just going to continue working my pattern as usual, and you'll barely be able to tell where this join is. Here I'm just speeding through till the end of this row. If you have any questions regarding the pattern so far, feel free to leave them in the comments below and let me know if you'd like a written pattern. Now for the end of this row, I'm going to work a V-stitch in the chain 4 space that we started off with, and I am not going to chain 1 after the V-stitch and go back in with another double crochet in the same space. I'm going to change colors similar to how I did previously. Before I do, I just want to let you know that it's going to be the same 2 rows being repeated throughout the pattern. I'm going to put this aside for now, and here's the half that's already completed. Both sides are going to be worked the same up until the neckline, which for me starts after row 16. But of course, you could make this as wide or as narrow as you want. I'm going to keep in mind my final row count is a multiple of 4 plus 1 because I'm planning to add a granny square border along the bottom. You could of course adjust your width and the size of your granny squares accordingly. Meet you back at or around row 16. I'll show you how to work the neckline. That's going to be it for part 1. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for part 2.